How are you ladies doing today?
Doing great. How about you?
Good, good. Let's see. Okay. So today I want to share a goal setting tool that I use in my business that can be transferable to anybody's business. It's not a brand new tool. It's not one that I made up, right? And it is called it's called a GPS, right? And GPS stands for goals, priorities, and strategies. We had talked about in the past the book, The One Thing. I talked about some of the concepts that came up in The One Thing, like going small to be able to go big, right? Being able to focus on one thing that's most important to you for the day, to be able to win the day, win your week, and to win different aspects of your life, right? What's that one most important thing? And the one thing has all these resources that they talk about in the book that they actually have and share online as well. And I want to be able to share this with you guys as far as a tool that you can use to help with goal setting. Sometimes we talk about goal setting a lot, for 2024 and for your year. And a lot of people are like, well, I don't even know where to start or what to use or how to start it. So how can we, um, goal set in a purposeful way, right? So to be able to have something that's trackable and usable for you going forward. So I want to share this tool. I'm going to upload it to the CEO mindset file tab and on the Facebook page after we're done so that you guys have access to it. It's actually a whole workbook that I'm going to share, but there's um, specifically the GPS section of it that I want to talk about. Okay. Okay. Give me a second. So remember, this is a packet that you can find on the One Thing website as a free resource. But like I said, I'm also going to upload it to the page if you want to go back and look at the rest of the guide, because this guide is a great guide on goal setting for a year. So it talks about um, you know um, figuring out what your long-term goals are, and we're going to talk about the GPS in a little bit more detail, and the 4-in-1 time blocking your calendar. It talks about and how to best go about doing that. So it has all these resources that you can use and go through to help you, right? All the way from goal setting all the way into the future, and bringing back that back to the now and what that looks like. So for today, I'm going to assume that we're wanting to focus on 2024, right? Because you have a general idea of where you want to go in the long term, and you're bringing that back to, well, what does 2024 need to look like in order for us to win in the long term, right? And Natalie earlier this week had conversations around framing some of your goals and keeping different factors in mind, like what your market factors are, what's going on politically, what's going on, different conditions that you should be aware of that will impact your own industry, right, or profession. So as you're considering all those things, one of the things that you need to really hone in on for your business or for yourself, right? So the thing that I love about this GPS and why I like sharing the GPS with different people is because the GPS can be used to goal set towards anything, right? It could be used to goal set towards that one thing in your life that you feel like is really important for you to really nail, that will help you with different aspects of your life, right? So for you, if that one thing happens to be weight loss, right? Losing a certain amount of weight or getting into, some specific health, right? Then that may be your one thing, right? Or it may be I need to pay off my debt, right? Or I need to save a certain amount of money, or I want to buy my first investment property for this year, right? What's that one thing for you, right? For me, it's the team goals that we have for this year, right? The team, I really, really want to nail what happens with the team for 2024 in order for me to be able to progress going forward, right? And so my one thing is growing my team for 2024, right? And so um, figure out what that one thing, one goal, and make it very specific and measurable, right? Something that you can go back and look at and say, you know what, I really nailed that, or I got close, and I could probably do a little bit better for 2025, right? So what is that one thing for 2024, right? Do you guys have, I'd love to be able to hear, right? If you have some ideas so far as what do you really need to nail for 2024 or want to accomplish for 2024 to set you up going forward? Because we're here to support and share with each other.
I can add that one of the things that I'm thinking about and have a plan, trying to continue to craft my plan about is just combating the kind of the market and how I'm going to come at it, meaning with all the different changes, right? So it's going up, and then there's talk about interest rates coming down, and just making sure that I'm ready from a marketing perspective and from an education perspective to continue to be able to bring a more that argument. So for example, today I have a training with a forecasting economist for my title company that they're bringing in.
Right.
So just kind of making sure I stay ahead of what the forecast looks like so that we bring that peace in the storm, right? Because that's one of the things that, like we said, markets and economy impact our businesses. So if we're not ahead of that, then that's something that I just feel like I have to make sure that I'm staying ahead on that specific topic, because that's very impactful to our business. Um,
Mhm.
and so that's one of the major ones for me.
So Leticia, how does that look like a specific and measurable goal for you for 2024?
So specifically is I kind of um one is looking for any training opportunities or educational webinars. Like I have one coming up already, there's another one and just looking for that material that sometimes you skim past, and so I'm being more assertive in trying to receive that information and going after it, because I tend to one of the coping mechanisms that I have when we talk about this, these national markets, is I try to go at it what I've always called since the pandemic. I kind of called it an onion, or let's just say a bullseye. And so I try to look at it, me and my household are in that middle of that bullseye. And then as I need to go out further from there, I'll decide. So whether it's, global, then it's, national, a president, a local government, or whatever, then our little local organizations, I decide how far out of my bullseye do I need to go, so that I go out, go get the information I need, and then I'm careful about not hovering around there where I become part of that hysteria, which I feel that it serves me not to go out there too much. It's like, what do I need to know? Let me go get what I need to know, and then come back and then figure out how I'll deal with that information on each of those levels. So that's for me, is deciding, all right, I have to go out, but I know when you go out looking, you're going to see the doomsday and everything's falling apart. And as the world is falling, like Chicken Little all day. right? Like the sky's falling. And I don't live in that space. So I tread out, and then I'm like, all right, let me go get what I need to know, and let me come back and make sure that I've gotten, the information where I feel I have a understanding. I feel like I know kind of where we're going, so that I can turn that into, let's say, presentations. Let's say I can make that part of conversations, scripts, and just the overall team, and then saying, okay, forecasting that if that's the case, what would be best case scenarios with the volume of files we need to turn around, and just kind of having in an inventory. Can we hover at 75 closings on a active list, or 100? Are we, and I know what my numbers are, making sure that let's say it is a worst case, like, what, are we still going to be good at 20, or are the coffers full? Yes. Right. And making sure I'm going, kind of hitting that along the way. Thought that
I
was a lot. I'm
appreciate
sorry.
you sharing. Yeah. Well, you got into some of the specifics, which got into some of the priorities and strategies that you have around what your business needs to look like for next year, right? And we'll talk about that. Is there anybody else that has like a goal that they want to share for 2024, that that we can kind of support them on as well, that you want to be able to kind of make known?
For me, one of my, I guess you could say my priority or goals for next year is, because I'm dually licensed in 2 states. This year has been, of course, an interesting year. But next year I plan on being a top producer in 2 states. So I've been working on how that's going to look for me, and the strategies. Like, I've literally been planning all of quarter 3 and 4, because I want to make sure that I execute effortlessly next year.
And so, Nancy, you know what production needs to happen in order for you to be considered a top producer in each of those states.
Yes.
Okay, so that's going to be your specific one thing, right? Like so you have a specific number of transactions or amount of volume, right, that you need to close for 2024 in order to be top producer in each of those states, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Absolutely. Okay. And so thank you for sharing, Nancy. So as you kind of have decided what that one thing is, and again, whether it's for business, whether it's personal, whether it's relational, what is that one thing for 2024 that you want to be able to focus on and have in front of you, right? Because this allows for a focusing opportunity for your goals and for your actions, right? How many times do you go into your day, and like you're not quite sure what you should be focusing on for the day or for the afternoon, right? And so this allows you to have, kind of in one place that you can post up what are the things that I need to be focusing on for this year, and you be able to kind of chunk it down through for your week and for your day, right? And I'll show you how to do that, right? So now that you have your one thing, let's say your one thing is selling 100 homes, right? We're just going to put out something, right? Selling 100 homes for the year, because that sounds great, right? Um, then we chunk that down, right? Because that just sounds like a lot. That sounds big. And yet, if we can chunk it down into priorities, well, what are the things I'm going to really focus in on to be able to sell 100 homes, right? Um, or sell 100 policies. Now, I don't know what that looks like, but priority number one for my team, priority number one always has to do with the database and the sphere, always, right? Because that is foundational to our business. And so what that looks like from a specific measurable perspective is typically by growing that by a certain amount, right? So whether it's growing and nurturing our sphere to increase by 500, contacts. So that may be the priority, right? And the strategies, the 5 strategies that we're coming up with are, how are we going to focus on doing that? How are we going to focus on doing that? One of the strategies that we typically have is we want to connect with influencers in our world, right? And so Maybe once a month, we're connecting with influencers in our world. Another strategy we would have is we're going to add one new contact to our database a week, at least, right? Or a day, right? Whatever that looks like for you. So adding a new contact, connecting with at least 5 people each day, just to say hello, checking in, whatever it is. So that's a different strategy. So we have these different strategies that we'll add in under the priorities. So now then, when we're scheduling our weeks, looking at our calendars, we can look at our GPS and say, okay, well, let me make sure that this is on my calendar. I have time blocked on my calendar so that I can contact my 5 folks, or that I can put my one new contact or one new lead this week into the database, right? Or I have lunch with my influencer, right? So because these are the strategies that I said I'm going to commit to, that's going to help me reach my priority step, right? Which ultimately is going to work towards reaching my goal, my one goal. Then that means I have to make time for it in my calendar, right? So those different things that Leticia talked about that were specific, because she knows that she's committing to those for her business, now she knows that they're going to make time on their calendar to be able to do those things, right? And again, this can be transferable to, let's say that your one thing is losing 20 pounds for the year, right? So one of your priorities is going to be around, it could be around your diet, right? So what am I eating? Making sure that that I'm eating, I don't know whether I'm fasting for a certain number of days, or whether I'm drinking, 84, 90 ounces of water each day. Like, what are the priorities that you're going to focus on towards that one goal? If it's debt consolidation or paying off debt, right? One of those priorities may be monthly, looking at my budget sheet monthly, and um, being able to reconcile all of my income and expenses, right? So what does that look like for you so that you can put this in one clean sheet, right? So from the real estate perspective, like I told you, priority number one is it's always the database. Priority number two is, where are we getting new business? Where new leads from, right? Whether for us it's doing seminars or out networking, as far as strategies go, but we're focused on increasing our database by a certain amount through some of these specific strategies. For many of those on the team, it may include activities on social media, right? Doing a certain number of reels or posts a certain number of times a week. Priority number 3 can be another activity, right? Like, ensuring that we're calling for sale by owners and expireds, a certain number of those every week. But oftentimes with the priority number 3, when you're looking to reach a big goal, like selling 100 homes, right? I typically have my agents focus on something that would work towards growth, right? How are you growing into the person and the agent that's going to be able to sell that number of homes, right? So I'm going to be listening to podcasts, or I'm going to be reading books, right? Our team, we read a book a quarter, right, as a book club together, so that we're learning new concepts together and we're growing together, so that the concept of selling 100 homes doesn't seem overwhelming, because we're growing and we're learning, right? For myself, it's learning how to be a better leader, right? And so my priorities are focused on things that will help feed that, as well as help feed the team. So it may be I'm looking to connect with a certain number of agents as I'm looking to purposefully grow the team. So I'm going to stop there for a second, because I have a second tool that's going to be able to kind of work in tandem with this. But do you guys have questions on this GPS, and or see how it could be used for your businesses? Remember, GPS stands for goals, priorities, and strategies. And I also love the play on words because GPS is the navigation. So this helps navigate kind of for your life. John, is
Val,
that you?
yes, Val, being a coaching client of David Patterson, that 135 is life. It is what you use literally for everything every goal that you have. It's one of those situations that helps you understand, okay, so if that's where I'm trying to go, here is what is important when I get there. And these are the things that are going to help me get to these important things that are going to help me get to the goal. So just breaking it down in that way, it helps so much. Like if, for instance, if you're talking about, we want to sell 25 million next year, that's your one goal, right? Your priorities are how you're going to get to that goal, right? And then your strategies are how you're going to get to those priorities to get to that goal, because nothing just happens. We have to work at everything, whether it's micro steps, tiny little habits, whatever it is. Having a plan in place or a GPS or a roadmap or whatever it is to help you get to that goal is vital to your success.
Absolutely. Thank you, Shauna. Because the strategies, as Jonna said, right? Those are the micro steps that you get to add to your calendar so that you know that your steps, your activities every week are being purposeful towards your priorities that will help support your goal, right? Anybody else? Can you see how this can be used for your business, for your goals for 2024? Or do you have questions on it?
Good morning, it's Najee. I just want to let you know I agree. I have the same strategy, 90 day, 30 days, 60 day, and daily. I'm sorry, weekly. So, we're on policies. So in order to sell a certain amount of policies, you have to do a certain number of quotes. So on average, an agent should do about 75 quotes a week, and that can lead up to, 10 policies sold a week. And an average anywhere from like 25 to 40 would be good, in between that range, as a goal for the team. I try to do per each person and break it down and, look at what they are, what can help them and what can help them sell those policies, with training and sales. But all these goals are very important and does basically put you in a place where you understand where your business is going each month. So definitely good stuff.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And this allows, and I like the fact that there's 5 strategies because this allows for you to have to really think about what am I going to be doing towards my priority, right? It's not just sometimes just picking up the phone, right? There are other things that you can and should be doing towards reaching your goals that will allow for exposure, and it allows for multiple pipelines of opportunity and leads, right? So that's why I like the 5 because it forces you to really have to think about what are those little steps, what are those little things that I can do, right? For your team members, like what are those different things that they can do? Maybe for one, it's going to be networking so they can create a pipeline for them, right? To have the opportunity to create more quotes, right? How many connections are they making with realtors or lenders? Because those are pipeline sources for insurance agents, right? How many connections are they making in that direction, right? So that probably should be one of their priorities, making a certain number of relationships where they become one of the top referrals for those professionals that work in tandem with them, right? And so you get to kind of use this to be able to talk this out. And another great point that Najee brought up too, and I want to kind of bring that here. The top of this thing says my one thing for the year. You can easily cross out year and say, for the quarter, for Q1, right? If you want to chunk this down, because the 12-week year talks about kind of bringing it back to to the 12-week, to the quarter, so that it's a lot easier to manage than having to look at this whole big year, right? Hitting the goal. What do I need to hit for this quarter in order to be able to know that I'm set up well for the year, right? And so you can easily change that from year to quarter, and hone in those priorities and strategies for that quarter, right? So the other thing I wanted to share, right, and it's in this packet for those of you that came in late, this one thing goal setting guide, I'm going to upload to the Facebook page so you have access to it and you can print it and use it, because this is something that you should fill in and be able to post up wherever you're working, and you can look at it regularly so that you can use it in your scheduling, right, on your calendar, be able to put it on your calendar. So this guide has other opportunities and other resources in the guide that you can use. But the other thing that I want to share, and I'm not going to go over too much detail, but the 411, right? Once you've used this GPS and it has all these things, all these different things you say you're going to do for the whole year, right? We're going to talk about for the year. The 411 allows you to kind of narrow this down for your month, right? So if I know that I want to sell 100 homes for the year, how many do I need to sell this month? Well, I need to probably sell about 8 or 9 this month in order to be able to get to the year. Our goal is a little bit different, right? Because we want to get 15% of our goals started going into the first month of the year. And yet, just knowing that you have to kind of chunk it down, right? If you want to lose a certain amount of weight, or you want to save a certain amount of money, pay off a certain amount of debt, you can chunk that down to what it needs to look like for January. And so these are your, you can use the GPS, the 411, to write down what that main goal is. What's the monthly goal that you need to hit, right? And so you know what the priorities are. So what are the priorities, or what are the main goals, right? If I know that I need to sell 8 or 9 homes, I need to have under contract, that means I need a certain number of appointments this month in order to do that, certain number of conversations this month in order to do that. So if I have what my monthly goals here, then for my week, then it gets very, very specific, right? If for the month I need to have 4 appointments, this week I need to have at least 1 appointment, right? And so I go week by week. You don't plan out all 4 weeks in advance, because what happens is, if week 1 I don't get my 1 appointment, guess what the goal is for week 2? 2 appointments, right? So what this allows you to do is be able to take the GPS and simplify it to your month and your week. And each week going forward, you get to be accountable to what you did the week prior to. Are you moving yourself along, right? And if you're even 80% of the activities doing each week that you're supposed to be doing, you will likely hit your goals, right? And so the 411 is something that you can use. Particularly, it's great with an accountability partner or a coach, right? Where you can write down, these are the things that I based on my GPS, I'm going to focus on for this 1 week, right? Because the goal is to get down to this 1 week. These are the simple things, and I don't need everything, right? I don't need you to talk about how you would want to fix the website, and these are the top priority activities that you're going to focus on this week, right? And you can use this with an accountability partner, so they could say, well, how'd you do this week, right? Did you have that appointment, right? Did you set that goal? Did you make that relationship? Did you reach out to that influencer, right? Did you add those contacts? Whatever that is for you, can use that to either hold yourself accountable, or be accountable to somebody else, right? So these are 2 great tools and resources that we use in our business with our team, and that you can use with your team members, and within your businesses for yourself. Any questions or any thoughts on this? I know we're just over 8:30 at this point.
Hi, it's Keisha. I really
Hi,
like
Keisha.
this because I have 2 businesses. So my rental business, I need to, one of my goals is to set up a system where I know what inventory I have, because right now I have things in storage, I have things in the attic, I have things at my mom's house, and I'm like, I forget what I have. So this is gonna work good for me. This is gonna work good for me.
Awesome.
Prioritize everything, what I need to do and when I need to do it.
Absolutely. Right. And all that can go on your GPS. If your one priority is your one business and your other priority is the other, like you can use that. And then here, right, it doesn't have to be personal, although I do always encourage to have a personal goal, but it could be your rental business versus your other business, right? And having them all in one sheet, you can post it up where you work and keep yourself accountable to your activities. Thank you for sharing. Josie, did I see you have your hand raised?
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
Val knows I love this topic because I'm probably the GPS 411 police for our team. But I live and die by my 411. You know, we do the GPS for the year, and when I do my 411, I always go back to reference it just to make sure that every month, right, like I'm purposefully remembering what did I say I wanted to do for the year and how can I incorporate that into my monthly goals. And you're not hitting everything every month, right? Like maybe this month it like, you know, she's using the weight example. So maybe this month I'm focused more on weight. Maybe that was one of my like strategies on my or sorry, one of the priorities on the GPS. But then next month I'm going to be focusing on lead gen if that was a different priority, like just random example. But when you do the 411 specifically, the accident people make is that sometimes they'll turn it into like a task list, and that's not what you want to do. You want to keep it to like your high priority, high level items that you need to try to tackle. So like yes, your appointments, your you know, if they're like big events, and so like the high level pieces of planning that event that you're trying to execute or things of that nature, but not like checking your emails and you know the stuff that you are going to have to do every day
Right.
anyways. And so I
Yep.
always say, you know, I like the 411 because it keeps me more granular. It keeps me more in the moment week to week. And if I can, like Val said, you know, if you do at least 80% of the things, like you're winning, right? And then when I'm looking at it from the week's view, I look at it every day. Can I tackle like one specific thing, right, that I put down for the week? So if I can get one thing done every day, like one positive thing, then I feel like I'm winning, right? And I think I said that on a different call. Like that's the idea of chunking it down to atomic habits. You're 1% better and just focusing on like one tiny thing that you can do to push the needle forward. And when you do that consistently, you know, even if it's 300 days out of the year, because there's days off and vacations and things, but then if you do it like the majority of the year, then you're winning. So try not to let it
Absolutely.
overwhelm you, essentially, is what I wanted to say.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, because like Josie said, like this is your top 20% priority tasks, right? These are the things that based on the strategies that you've come up with that you're going to really hone in on each week so that you know that you're moving forward. You're moving yourself forward. So I'm going to, as I said, I'm going to post it in the group. Feel free to take your time and go through it. There are, you know, earlier in the packet, there's some more descriptors of the tools, right? So it talks about the GPS and the 411 a little bit more so that you can reference it. But it's a great tool that helps you really get into action, right? That's what we're talking about. Get into action. All these conversations that we're having every morning is all working towards getting you into action and just making um, your businesses, your lives better and more purposeful. All right? All right. Well, thank you guys for being on and for sharing with me, and allowing me to share one of the tools that we use for our team and our business to help us move forward. All right. I hope this helps you as well.
Great job, Val.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you, Sarah. Have a great day, guys.